But yes, there's obviously me achieving the Apprenticeship of the Year award, which I wouldn't have been able to do if it wasn't for Skills Edge and achieving that distinction. But I do look at it as a whole journey to see where I started to where I came from. So I finished my A-levels in the summer of 2019, and 18-year-old Phoebe had no idea what she wanted to do, what career I wanted to pursue. And so, there was that point where I was like, I didn't want to go to uni for the sake of it, and I didn't know what sort of path that I would lead. So I thought it'd be important to gain some valuable work experience skills in the meantime, in the hope that, I found something that I was passionate about. And I'd always had a background interest in the financial industry, and my mum's been part of the industry for many, many years now. So when Bespoke Advice approached me about this apprenticeship programme, it was something really exciting and new for me. Not only was it the studying aspect and the qualifications, but you got that on the job training as well, which was something really important to me to develop those skills. And I knew it was a new business venture that Bespoke Advice was starting, and I was the first apprentice, so I knew it would be a challenge, but it's something that I was, genuinely interested in. And that's probably the main driving factor for me for choosing the apprenticeship. It was that sort of safe environment for me. It's an up and down journey for sure, and whilst it's an apprenticeship and it's that safe environment, by no means does that mean it's an easy ride. You really do have to put the work in, and you have to put the effort in, and that's why the achievements that I've received so far is so special to me, because I really did put a lot of work and effort into it. In terms of the barriers for me as a person, I'm quite quiet. I lacked confidence in myself and what I could bring to the table. So, that was an ongoing challenge for me to try and jump over that barrier, put myself out there, put myself up for failure, to learn from those mistakes and grow as a person and as a financial advisor as well. In terms of Skills Edge support, we had contact with our trainers. We had constant support through that network. I had regular meetings with my trainer, and you become quite close with them. You get to know who they are, they get to know who you are, and that really helps with the learning aspect of the apprenticeship and the journey that you go on, because really you're going through that journey together. And that really benefited me when I got to the endpoint assessment stage, because my trainer knew what I was better at and not so good at. So we could tailor my endpoint portfolio to, my strengths and weaknesses. Ultimately, that probably did help me achieve the distinction that I did get, because, I was able to put forward the best aspects of, my skill set for them. In terms of Bespoke Advice, they also offered me constant support as well. Additional exam support we had, not just through Skills Edge, but we also had support through sort of third-party firms as well, just to give me everything that all the support that I could have to make sure I could pass the exams. A specific challenge for me is also at that endpoint assessment stage. There was quite a large delay in between my RO6 pass and then putting my endpoint assessment together. And I think that was during the time there was quite significant system changes within Skills Edge. So I think I developed my skills a lot more than what the endpoint was really asking me. And I ended up failing one of them about 2 times, just because I was really struggling to grasp what was being asked of me, and I was maybe putting too much detail in. But the support I had from Skills Edge to finally get myself over that line was something that was really invaluable to me, and getting that distinction. Yeah, so there was certainly a lot of exams. So far I've completed 15, which over the 3 years sort of works out as 5 per year. So I really have ploughed on through with those exams. Obviously, the first 6 of those were the 6 ROs that I had to complete as part of the apprenticeship. And then those additional ones were really to get my points up to that chartered level. There were a variety of online proctored exams that I did and some in-person ones. And from personal experience, the written exams were a lot more to my preference. They were a lot more what was expected in the job on a daily basis. But it certainly wasn't a smooth ride. And like I was saying, they're not easy, and you do really have to put the work and study time into them. I have some successes, I have some failures, and it's all part of that journey that I had overall. It is, and forever will be the highlight really of my career. It's the turning point for where I take myself in this career. And to be the minority in gender and age is quite a proud moment for me to have achieved what I have achieved. In terms of where I go from here, I really do see it as the only ways up from where I am. The door is as open, the widest it's ever going to be. So in terms of climbing that ladder and continuously developing to provide that high quality advice to my clients is something that I feel like I can now apply. Oh, it was a huge moment for me. As I said, the whole apprenticeship wasn't an easy ride for me. And straight after that, I was on to my AF exams. So I didn't feel I had a moment to sort of stop and recognise what I had achieved over those 2 years I was in the apprenticeship for. And to hear the first time that I'd just missed out on the win was quite a big kick in the teeth for me, because I felt like I'd put so much work in. So when I finally received the call that they had selected me as the winner, there was a huge sense of relief, and I was overjoyed with it really. All it did was make me hungry for more, and not 1 year later I qualified as chartered. To be the minority in gender and age was a huge barrier, and something that I had to sort of tackle and will continue to have to tackle for a while to come. But in terms of the message that I could give to my fellow apprentices within the company and external apprentices as well, is to trust the process, really, is to trust that journey, take your time to develop those skills, be open-minded with all the learning and the assignments that you do along the way, because ultimately you can sit back in 2 or 5 years time when you're chartered and look back to see where you started versus where you are now. There's a lot more than just one, really. I wasn't the biggest character in the room. I wasn't the loudest voice in the room. So to tackle those confidence issues I had has been such a valuable lesson to me. If you'd have asked an 18-year-old Phoebe that she'd have to sit in a room with strangers and talk to them about their finances, she'd have probably given you a bit of a funny look. But now it's second nature to me, and those skills are something that I developed not only through the apprenticeship but through working with a firm like Bespoke Advice as well. So it's that whole journey you go on and how you develop your character. So it has been, and it will continue to be, my mum. She has been in the industry for many, many years now. And as I said before, coming into the industry as a young person who didn't really know much background to it, having someone to look up to like that and seeing the impact that she has around her in terms of her personal life and her work life as well, is something that was hugely inspiring to me, and continues to drive me forward and where I want to go as an advisor. regular meetings that you have with your trainers, so you continuously know where you are on your journey. At the very start, I remember receiving a roadmap, and that was something that I kept referring to see where I was at on my journey. And you could see the progress you're making as well, which I think is really important. In terms of the training for the exams, Sue Cox and the sessions she did for the exams were hugely invaluable to me, and really did help with all those exam passes. In terms of things to improve on, it was just that transition into the endpoint assessment stage. I said it wasn't the smoothest process for me, and I really did struggle to sort of grasp what was being asked of me. I appreciate there's been some changes since I have completed that. But in terms of if there's areas to improve on, and the struggle I had on my journey, that's what comes to mind. But overall experience with the apprenticeship is something I'd recommend to anyone young and new starting into the industry. Right, yes, there's obviously me achieving the Apprenticeship of the Year award, which I wouldn't have been able to do if it wasn't for Skills Edge and achieving that distinction. But I do look at it as a whole journey, to see where I started to where I came from. I wouldn't have entered the industry in any other way. So it's a huge memorable, it's not a moment, it's a journey, and it's a journey that I will look back on 20 years down the road when I'm a chartered advisor, and be very grateful for. There's so many, and the main one that comes to mind is the record keeping, the organisation, in terms of the off-the-job training we had to do as part of the apprenticeship, linking that to the CPD that you have to do when you're a qualified advisor, maintaining your records, time management, with all the clients that you have to see, keeping track of your diary and things like that. And in terms of the soft skills, like I've already said, it's those confidence, it's knowing what you can bring to the table and the quality of advice you can give to your clients. So it's a whole range of skills.
Mm-hmm.